AOC will be live with me later, watching Trump's Bronx rally, 7 p.m. East, 4 p.m. Pacific. Let's say 4 p.m. PST. Batman episode 4 later. Get in now. Are you releasing more merch soon? My washing machine destroyed my shirt. How? How is that even possible? What the fuck? But yes, I will be releasing more merch soon. The new lineup looks crazy. John Lovett is on the next season of Survivor. Wait, what? No way. A podcaster, comedian, and former speechwriter from Long Island. Bro, former speechwriter from Long Island. He was Obama's speechwriter, brother. That's crazy. What a way to undersell a person. Bro, he was Obama's speechwriter. He wasn't just like a speechwriter that wrote speeches for, you know, the hall monitor or the fucking school principal. He was the speechwriter for Obama. Anyway, yeah, he's a co-founder of Crooked Media and was a speechwriter for President Barack Obama as well as Hillary Clinton when she was a United States senator and a 2008 presidential candidate. He is going to be on Survivor. That's crazy. I'm going to hit him up. We're going to get to the news. All right, let's get started. No more ball talk. Okay, I know a lot of it's been 47 minutes. I know a lot of you are fucking losing it right now. You're just sitting there white knuckling through this like sports. Does it though? Because on the basketball isn't smooth. If you pause your viewpoint on the surface, there's never a clear horizon indicating a spherical shape beneath you indefinitely. What is this? Yeah. By the way, the Israeli hostage families released footage of female soldiers captured on the 7th of October. And the reason why they released that footage, okay, the reason why they released that footage was to put pressure on the Israeli government. However, that footage was used, and it was already like footage that had been out before. It had circulated before and debunked before certain aspects of it, right? But immediately, Americans took that footage and were like, see, they want to do rapes. They're saying they want to do rapes. And it's always so fucking wild when people say this shit because they just suspect that not a single person will speak Arabic, or rather, not a single person will ask a person who can speak Arabic. Yeah, the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs released the footage with the fucking fake translation, which is crazy. That in and of itself, let me tell you something. That in and of itself is literally, it's over. You do that, it's over. You should be universally never trusted ever again. Okay? You do some shit like that as the government, and Israel has done it a million times over at this point. Okay? But you do some shit like that. What is this? You sent me your fucking bookmarks folder? What is happening, chatter? Are we out of control? It's also subtly designed to make you look like you're either supporting or otherwise denying the events they're alleging if you attempt to refute or correct them. It's like, wow, so you're saying these women weren't raped? Yeah, it's insane. And it does not make any sense to me whatsoever. I don't understand how, like, I don't understand how they run with this. Like, I don't understand how American outlets just run with it. Sickening new video shows Hamas line up female soldiers on October 7th. Here are the girls who can get pregnant. And it's like, bro, what is happening? Like, do you think that we are living in colonial times? Do you think you can just be like, the angry black man is tribal and just write it on the fucking paper of record? And then because at that point, no one thinks that black people are human beings, I guess, that like no one will question it. Bro, this is 2024. There are people who speak Arabic online. There are people who can like watch the footage and go, what the fuck are you saying? I just don't understand it. I do not understand it at all. It's just pure racism, right? It has to be. It's just like the idea that you think you can get away with like releasing this and just expecting no one to question it is just because like Well, technically, if someone speaks Arabic, they are also a terrorist. Like the audience that you're going after is basically people who firmly believe that, like, if someone speaks Arabic, then they're a threat. So, like, the people that you're trying to convince here are going to be people that, like, hear Arabic and go, oh, they're rapists anyway. So this just, like, reaffirms their suspicions. And then they're not going to go and fact check it. They're not going to go and, like, ask someone who does speak Arabic, right? Because anyone who speaks Arabic is a terrorist. So obviously, like, it's you know, perfectly crafted in the most laughable way possible. If it wasn't so damning and so insane, and the situation that they were, like, I guess, trying to manipulate in this circumstance wasn't already, like, pretty awful. You know what I mean? I don't think you understand terrorism, Hassan. Wait, what? On, like, the top of the hour, oh, fuck. God damn it. I was too busy reading their fucking previous take. God damn it. Dude, why? Why you guys got to do this to me when I'm, like, literally in the pocket? When I'm in the pocket and I'm just locked in on the stories, you hit me with a fucking low effort ass bait, dude. At the top of the hour, nonetheless. Tech Jess, thank you for the 10 gifted subs, allowing 10 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. Oh my God. He smoked you, OG. Smoked OG. You got smoked. I did. Treyarch doing 9/11 in their next COD game. Dude, I fucked up the top of the hour QTE like I fucked up the QTE last night at Batman episode 3 when I had sex with Catwoman and then Catwoman's cat scratched me and then I revealed myself to Harvey Dent, furthering his demise, furthering his radicalization into becoming Two-Face. Anyway, you need to get those out of the bag now. You can't get debated in front of AOC for sure, bro. We cannot do that. What is this? God is good. Crotona Park is going to be a muddy mess tonight with the Trump rally. Oh yeah. Anyway, we're gonna do that right now. We're gonna do all of this. We're gonna cover it. We're gonna go through the fucking footage because this is like the next Hasbara line. Okay. Yeah. Bruce was fist fighting, dick out, unwashed. It was awesome. Okay. So let's get back to this story. So Daily Mail Online. You're so beautiful. The girls who can get pregnant. Horrifying new footage shows Hamas fanatics taunt young Israeli women with the threat of rape, making them have their children as the hostages. One still in her Snoopy pajamas, plead to be freed. Again, this is over. The mass rape is done. The Israeli regime is honest in their desperation to cover up their APPs, ICC charges, and recognition of Palestine decided to abandon all pretense and thereby fully expose what the hoax it is. Now, the thing is, the reason why the hostage families actually resurfaced the footage, okay, was so that they could literally increase the pressure. They wanted to increase the fucking pressure on the government to do a ceasefire. But of course, just like the way that the hostage families have, you know, used the posters of the hostages in Israel and the way that is perceived by the broader Israeli population is very different over there in comparison to over here. Over here, we use the hostage posters to be like, see, that's why we're going to fucking murder all of them. That's why we're going to murder all of them. Meanwhile, if you're doing that in Tel Aviv, you're doing that to be like, stop murdering the fucking hostages. This is something that, you know, a lot of people refuse to comprehend in the Western world. This does not mean that the family of the hostages are actually, you know, anti-Zionists or whatever. Of course they're not. But even within the confines of Zionism, there are still people who want a ceasefire for obvious reasons. I live in Tel Aviv. I just got back home, and there was literally a billboard saying something like, Yoav Galant, do a better job or quit, which seems good until you read the next line. It says, we didn't fight so there could be a Palestinian state in Gaza. I hate this shithole. Yeah, exactly. So that was the point I was going to mention. Like, there are a lot of people that hate the fucking war cabinet because they're not going hard enough, for example. You know what I mean? There are a lot of people who hate the war cabinet because they're not doing a ceasefire. My mom in Israel literally used the footage to continue the fighting. Yeah. And there are still people in Israel that are looking at that footage and going, this is why we fight. This is why we fight. This is why we fight. Now, the problem is, in the Western world, no one looks at that footage, on the Zionist side at least. In the Western world, no one looks at that fucking footage and goes, yeah, that's why they need to do a ceasefire. They look at that footage to go, no, that's why we need to keep fucking pummeling Gaza. Meanwhile, the hostage families are releasing the footage specifically to be like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? You know, these are our family members that are stuck in Gaza, and you're blowing them up. Now, of course, it did correspond to an AP News debunking that just came out, and Israel does have a really good eye for this sort of thing. Whenever they see someone like, whenever they see some naysayers in Western media, they immediately hit him with like well, remember October 7 line? And they just like resurface that to be like, hey, remember how bad it was? Remember how fucking bad October 7 was? And it was bad, okay? But it still does not allow Israel, it does not give Israel the right to do a million October 7s all the fucking time, right? So, and this is the other side of the Israeli discourse. What is this? It is not so clear to me what in the observational video caused such a public reaction. We've seen much, much worse. I answer here broadly to everyone. Dear brothers, how can you even imagine that I am indifferent to the fate of the kidnapped? I risked my life for many months on missions in Gaza to try to get them back. I saw the horrors of Hamas with my eyes and felt them with my hands in the days after the massacre. My question was honest. I was really just trying to understand. There are difficult documents of abductees who are still alive, which were published in the past and did not receive a similar distribution and public reaction, and I wanted to understand what happened. Any other reading of my words is forcefully looking for a fight, which is definitely a shame. So I think the reason why this like invokes a lot of reaction, because this round of footage, I think really, but this is footage that is not like new. This has been out before, I'm pretty sure, because I remember, if I'm not mistaken, I remember them trying to do the fake caption, they want to rape our women shit before. Like, I'm pretty sure they tried to do that before and were roundly condemned and criticized for trying to do that. But because it was like very close to October 7 at the time, that it was like, you know, there was a lot more momentum in favor of Israel. Israel had a lot more, I guess, social and political capital to expend at that point, because people were just finding out about it. Bro, a poll came out yesterday, and the combined effects of the ICC warrants and Gantz's threats and the fight with Gallant is that a Likud have the highest seat projections at the start of the war. I can't. Oh my God. Only God will save Israel, dude, at this point. I don't know how to fucking, I don't know how. Yeah. Washington Post also has been lying and saying that Sabaya has sexual connotations. The Arabic word Sabaya does not have sexual connotations. It's playing on racist and Orientalist shows about Arabs and Muslims. Relying on the fabricated idea of translation of the word isn't journalism. Yeah. It's just, you know, there, and that is the educated version of this. Like, that is the educated, laundered narrative. So Eunice Tarawi responds, you're stooping so low as to sexualize your own female soldiers and using them as propaganda material. The number one, the first phrase, get pregnant, is fabricated by the author. He says, here are the captured women, using the Arabic word sabaya, the plural form of sabiya, which means captured women. These are not civilians like other hostages. They are active on-duty soldiers captured from a military base, Nahal Oz military observation post. Hamas men said, those are the ones who have been killing our brothers, referring to the extrajudicial killings during the March of Return. The translation claims, these are the Zionists, but he actually said, here are the cowards, Hay al-Hamal. Israel edited the video, adding noise to obscure the original audio. What was audible as no beautiful was mistranslated as you are so beautiful, to imply Hamas was complimenting the female soldiers. Another mistranslation occurred when a Hamas man said talle, which means get her up onto the vehicle. The pervert author said without her. And it's fucking nutty. Sabaya just means girls. I don't know why he added captured. No, as far as I understand it, Sabaya or Sabia is a specific terminology for captured women in war, is it not? And by the way, it literally is the opposite. The reason for the terminology is because, like, Islam has very clear rules about what not to do with enemy combatants. I thought it was, it just means girl. Okay. Regardless, Islam does have very specific rules of what not to do with captive women. Not that it matters in this situation. 1,000,000%. A religion having rules about something isn't an ironclad argument and shouldn't be used. this wasn't, no, you're misunderstanding what I'm saying. I wasn't saying that to be like, oh, they would never do that because of Islam. I'm saying that the irony is that the Orientalist understanding dictates that rapist, barbarian, Muslims actually are capturing women specifically to rape them, when in fact, if they were at least a little bit more inquisitive about the rules of Islam, they would recognize that it is exactly the fucking opposite. That was simply what I was mentioning here. Not to say that like they actually follow the rules of Islam or anything like that. I'm simply stating that Orientalism quite literally shows you the exact opposite, or presents the exact opposite of the supposed rules, making it seem like oh, they are capturing people specifically to rape them with no real justification for that whatsoever. Anyway, also these are random fighters saying shit. Even if they said anything, is there actual proof? Meanwhile, you have Israeli leaders calling for ethnic cleansing. I know. The reason why we're getting into the minutia and the hyper specifics here is because it is being used as another round of propaganda, and I want people to like be able to properly debunk it if they want to know what the truth is. You know what I mean? And I'm using this also as an opportunity to clarify certain aspects of even Orientalism and how damaging Orientalism can be, especially when mainstream media in the West is looking at this and taking the false translation and running with it, when in fact, it's like a relatively simple way to parse through this. It's a relatively simple way to just look at it and go, that's ridiculous. That's not what it says. And Israel has done this many times over. If you recall, famously, you had the Brigadier Rear Admiral fucking go and like point at a calendar and be like, this is a Hamas terror schedule. And it was just a calendar. He was like, look, see, they have the names of the hostages. And people were like, no, dude, those are the names of the days of the week. You're fucking stupid. And they've done it time and time again, which is why I think it's important for people to understand. They are only able to do this. They would never be able to do this if Hamas was speaking English, if the enemy was white and spoke English. They would not be able to do this to the same degree. But because the enemy is this like secret, scary, mystical being and a rapist, barbarian horde in the eyes of the world that wants to destroy the entirety of the Islamic population, right? And in an effort to justify America's war on terror, we've kind of run this narrative over and over again, and people just take that shit for granted. You can get away with doing this. Laughable levels of like introductory level 1 racism. Do you understand? I just realized Israel blocked you. Did they? No, they didn't. Norway, if your goal was to reward terrorism by declaring support for a Palestinian state, you achieved it. Hamas thanks you for your service. Dude, two things always happen. Whenever the Western world, and I'm going to get to the second part of this, whenever the Western world, like, turns around and says like, oh yeah, Associated Press debunked how the 2 debunked accounts of sexual violence on October 7 fueled a dispute over the Israel-Hamas war. They'll do this article, Israel will retaliate and be like, no, they're actually rapists. And like, they have to fucking come up with like an October 7 thing to recycle again. And then, and on the more nefarious side of things, they will then further punish the Palestinian population. And that's the other side of the story. Because on the one hand, they are going crazy. They're going nutty mode over the disturbing new video released of hostages in Gaza, right? On the other hand, however, they're also simultaneously increasing the pressure upon the Palestinian population. What are they doing? Oh, that's right. They're recycling funds taken from border communities inside of Israel and putting them directly into settlement efforts in the West Bank, which is, of course, very frustrating for a lot of people. They're doing that literally, and I guess that's what you're mentioning here as well. Exactly. They're doing that right now. Why are they doing that? The timing of that is very suspicious. It's probably because every single time anyone ever says, Israel, what you're doing is wrong, they literally double down on the cruelty towards the Palestinian population. Whether it's in the West Bank or whether it's in fucking Gaza, it doesn't matter. That they only have one note. They only have one fucking note. Pretty cynical timing here. For a while now, Smotrich has had his eyes set to steal the 19 billion NIS of the Negev Development Fund, money meant for the southern communities devastated by October 7. Yesterday, he succeeded. A preliminary vote passed the law that would nonsensically redefine the Negev to include West Bank settlements, thus funneling these desperately needed recovery funds towards settlement and outpost expansion. Every time this government mentions hostages on October 7's victims, they don't care. Exactly. They don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about the Gaza envelope. They don't give a shit about fucking the Negev communities. They only care about being more and more violent to the Palestinian population as best as they can. They literally have one note, and it's so transparent. You can always count on the Israeli government to go, oh my God, someone fucking said that we're actually in the wrong. Well, guess what? These Palestinians are now going to suffer because of that. It is just pure evil. It is pure evil. This is what I mean when I say the arrogance and the entitlement and the bloodlust of Zionism will lead to its inevitable demise. Okay? It is like it is comic book evil shit. It's fucking crazy. Anyway, let's watch this and then we'll get to it.
Disturbing video of hostages in Gaza. It's just come out. It shows female Israeli soldiers who it's believed are being held by Hamas. It was released by the hostages' families to pressure the Israeli government to make a deal to bring them home now. Imtiaz Tayeb has more on this story.
Israeli protesters had one message for their government: free the hostages.
At least they're admitting that these are soldiers, by the way, and not like little girls or some shit.
Demonstrations were triggered by the release of a graphic video showing 5 female soldiers in Hamas captivity, made public by their families.
I want the world to know that she's more than a poster.
Sasha Aryev's 19-year-old sister Karina is seen in the video.
A few girls like in pajamas, blood covered, terrified, and you just can't imagine, even when they're speaking to them, I don't think the girls realized, because they do not know the language, you are so pretty, you
Sorry if you covered it, but can you run down the difference between hostages and prisoners of war when it comes to soldiers? Yeah, no, they're literally prisoners of war in this situation. They're enemy combatants that were captured in an offensive campaign. The difference, however, is that they're literally fucking IDF soldiers that were captured in a fucking military base, whereas Israel will literally do collective fucking dragnets all the time, both in the West Bank, where there is no Hamas, and also in the Gaza Strip since its siege, and we'll just say every single man is a soldier. Every single man. Across the board. And then they'll fucking torture them in their torture facility, and then they'll release them after a couple days or weeks of torturing them. Anyone over the age of 15 all the way up to 65 is considered an enemy combatant and a functioning member of Hamas in the eyes of the Israeli military, at least for the duration of their torture. They'll fucking dragnet them. They'll strip them. They'll film the entire process. As you guys saw, you saw the footage. They'll make them do like, fun little bits where they'll be like, here, hold this AK for a second. Okay. Hold this AK for me, please. And then they'll just, they'll send them, they'll ship them off into the fucking desert in a torture facility. After torturing them for fucking weeks, they'll be like, okay, this guy was a nurse. Boom, released. To Israeli society, I should say there's no real difference in the discourse, especially because these soldiers were most likely with their families at school like a year ago. They are prisoners of war, though, of course. Yeah.
You are the girls who will get pregnant.
Hamas has released a trove of October 7th propaganda videos. The family said they were given this edited version from the military that had removed more disturbing scenes.
Why did your family want to release this video to the public?
Because people are forgetting. We have the feeling that it's becoming normal.
Anger is only growing at Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Many Israelis accuse him of blocking a hostage deal in order to prolong the war in Gaza, allegations he denies.
Do you think your prime minister is doing enough?
I came across a video from October 7 where a group of festival attendees were huddled into a large shower stall and Hamas threw grenades in the room. I really don't know how we resolve this issue. Yeah, I mean, there's horrifying footage from October 7. Like, I've seen them too. Like, the Hamas militants literally fucking opening fire. Like, they're doing mass shootings at porta potties and shit like that. Like, absolutely. A lot of people personally think that, like, the way that Palestinian resistance conducted themselves has to be perfect or was perfect. Like, they have this weird belief that, like, no, Palestinians are these, like, mythical beings. Like, no, your brain is broken by TV. Okay, you watch too much TV. In the real world, although one side is objectively worse than the other, no one is a perfect victim. Okay? And the Palestinian resistance is, of course, not going to be perfect in the way that they resist against the apartheid state, which is precisely the reason why we look at the overarching moral failure here. If one state is a nuclear state and heavily militarized and getting all of the armaments from the Western world and all the legal political cover to be able to maintain an apartheid, and the other is an ascetic resistance group that is pieced together by, orphaned people by the apartheid regime, then yeah, I'm going to be on the side of resisting against the apartheid, because morally speaking, I think it's unconscionable to do that to people. Okay? And the reality of the matter is that those people who have been fucked over in incredibly dramatic, unimaginable ways, when they lash out, when they conduct any kind of military incursion into Israel proper, when they do horrifying things to the Israeli civilian population that doesn't deserve it, mind you, okay, in what I would absolutely consider an act of terror, that still does not change the dynamic for me, even a little bit, okay? There is a lot more than October 7 for the Palestinians, for the Palestinian resistance groups, for Hamas or Al-Qassam or any number of these brigades. There's a lot more than October 7 for them to even come close to the harm that Israel conducts on a daily basis when they're not actually having a military siege, when they're not actually doing an ethnic cleansing campaign. This is something that a lot of people don't understand. Fanon said, decolonialization is always marked by violence, a violence that has been produced by colonizers and experienced by colonized subjects in their everyday lives. The same violence accumulated by the natives has to be claimed and launched back to the colonizers. Yeah, I'm a firm believer that the violence, the standard for violence is set by always the occupying force, okay? That's it. And Israel, as the occupying entity here, has set the standard of violence and has increased it over the years. So when that increases on the Israeli front, of course, the resistance side is also going to match the intensity to the best of their ability. But once again, when you look at like a Palestinian militant knowingly throwing a grenade into a civilian, into a crowd of civilians at a fucking at a rave, at a techno rave in the middle of the desert, right next to a concentration camp, mind you, but still, right? You go, that's unconscionable. That's so crazy. But we, in the Western world especially, have no way to contextualize, to understand the machine of death that Israel has created in the Gaza Strip. Because you think of how personal that is, right? You see a guy, it looks like it's a dude doing mass shooting and using grenades, right? That's something you can comprehend. Right? That's terrifying. Imagine if that happened to you when you went to a techno concert, if you went to the EDC and they did some shit like that, right? Well, you can never understand entire city blocks being wiped out by laser-guided munitions, 2,000-pound bombs, killing every fucking family deliberately with AI targeting. Like, that's so beyond the pale for us. And I think that ends up creating a little bit of cover for Israel, because we're conditioned into thinking like blown up city blocks, that's Middle East shit. They probably had it coming. Who knows? But the personal violence that you see, people actually fucking using weapons to shoot people, that's something that you can comprehend, especially as an American. Certainly, it's like waving a plate of meat in front of a starving lion. The dynamic hasn't changed for me either. I just have a hard time seeing the end of this being productive. I just want to be optimistic, but old Joe's going to see that footage and keep throwing more weapons into Israel. No, old Joe doesn't need to see that footage. He's already hallucinating the footage. Don't fool yourself. He literally has time and time again lied about what kind of footage he has seen. And there's plenty of fucking gruesome shit that you could look at from October 7. And yet, for some weird reason, old Joe still keeps making up other shit. The word you're looking for is nexus. Proximity contributes to our biases. That's why I always personally bring up the West Bank. Because the way that the Israeli occupying force and the Israeli government has conducted itself in the West Bank is something that even Americans can understand as unconscionable. Because it is literally the Jewish KKK brigades out there. Just a bunch of fucking inbred hicks literally doing pogroms to the Arab population and kicking them out deliberately from their ancestral homes, specifically with the go-ahead by the IDF. And an occupying military force comes in and defends them and ends up killing anyone that says, don't do this to me. When you see that shit, you understand exactly what it is. Anyway, troops captured after being defeated in combat are hostages? No, they're not. These guys are, dude, we see the same, it's the same thing with like American troops. That's it. If an American guy in Afghanistan gets captured, they're not going to be considered a prisoner of war. They're going to be referred to by the media as a hostage, even though technically they are a prisoner of war. Then it's not a war crime when their mass shot up. Why do we keep pretending resistance is a war crime is justified and legal even under half-ass international law? No. Dude, come on. I don't know why we still have this fucking conversation. You're not going to be able to convince me on this issue, okay? I have an understandable distaste for targeting civilian populations. I think that you should too. And it's both for, you know, it's both for the playing a political purpose, but it also is something that I'm genuinely against personally. They're active members or reservists or armed settlers. How are they civilians? Yeah, dude. There were plenty of people who were not any of those things. Okay, you're ridiculous. Once again, they don't need to be. The Palestinian resistance does not have to be perfect. Okay, it does not have to be perfect for me to say that you know, their cause, Palestinian emancipation and an end to the fucking occupation is just. An end to the apartheid is just. I have, I guess, in my assessment, a better understanding of historical violence than you do. This is absolutely something that has always happened. Okay? It happened during the abolition era. It happened in Algeria. It happened in Ireland. It happened in apartheid South Africa. It has always happened and will always continue to happen. It happened in Haiti. It will never not happen.
Every day that she's not home, it becomes harder for me not to be disappointed. But if I won't believe, I won't come out from my bed in the morning.
So you have to believe she'll come home.
Yes.
For CB.
Fundamentally, morality politics is deeply liberal and always favors those who maintain violence in structured ways that are not readily discussed or shown. Resistance is justified. Dismantling systems of oppression is justified. Condemning those resisting apartheid is pointless. Yeah. I have friends who escaped the music festival by the skin of their teeth. I put my finger through the porta potty bullet holes. The question isn't about moral responsibility. That's a discussion I don't have the student debt to handle. There's a conflict. There's a history. There are power structures. I don't care who's at fault for October 7. I care about what material systems drive the conflict and who holds the power and what can we do to achieve a just resolution of the conflict. Exactly. 100%. This is why I always fucking say, like, analysis does not mean justification. Like, and when I talk about like the actions of October 7, every single person is immediately like, wait a minute. You're not immediately running to fucking talk about the barbaric monsters that are Arab dogs that are operating on antiquated, ancient epigenetic anti-Semitism that is, you know, that is their biological predetermined destiny. They have to operate this way. They wanted to kill Jews. That's why they did this. And it's like, no, that's not the reason. You are delusional for thinking that that is the reason. There's a very obvious reason for why this is occurring. I recently saw a Piers Morgan interview, and the questions he was asking didn't make sense at all, and you were furious about it? Yes. Yeah, here in Denmark, I remember this. Here in Denmark, the resistance against German occupation did sexual assaults against women who were in relationships with German soldiers and killed German civilians and German soldiers, but they were still on the right side fighting Nazis. There has never been a circumstance in which, like, there's never been a circumstance in any global conflict, any sort of resistance against a colonial occupation, where the part that is fighting against said colonial occupation has conducted themselves in a perfect fucking manner. Of course they haven't. Okay? And if the intensity is higher, as is the case in like chattel slavery in Haiti, for example, as is the case in Haiti, in the way that slavery played a role in Haiti, the fucking revolution was incredibly violent, like unimaginably violent. They literally went to town on anyone they suspected of being fucking white. Okay? Do you think anti-Semitism factors into Hamas's agenda at all? I'm aware it's far down on the list if it does, but it's a common Zionist talking point to label them as genocidal and anti-Semitic to devalue the Palestinian position. No. I think it's laughable. And I think it's very Western facing to say that, like, no, these guys are operating on anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism in the fucking East is very different than old school Christian anti-Semitism that has led to fucking pogroms, that has led to the Holocaust, that has led to Jews being shipped out of Western and Eastern Europe and Russia, specifically to the Middle East. Okay? No. If Israel was a Christian entity, then they would be anti-Christian. The reason why many in that region make no distinction between Zionism and Judaism is because Israel in the region does not make that distinction at all, and as a forward PR campaign will regularly marry Judaism with Zionism. That is the reason why we say Israel makes Jews less safe. It's one of the many reasons. That's why I've talked about it. I've talked about the differences. For example, when you see a Star of David being fucking spray painted outside of like a synagogue or something in the Western world, or outside of the house of a Jewish person, that's a threat. That's a threat. That's most likely a signal that some anti-Semitic hate crime is about to happen in the Western world. But in that side of the world, in the occupied territories that Israel maintains, when you see a fucking Star of David, that means a pogrom is going to happen to the Arab family that lives there in their ancestral homes. It is a very different meaning on that side of the world in comparison to the Western world.
We'll get.
What is your just resolution of the conflict? I find the state of Israel and Zionists to be Zionists as detestable, but you propping up Hamas is infallible. I never said Hamas is infallible at all. And as an idea, presents no clear end to the conflict, because Hamas is an idea. I don't present them as an idea. It is. It is a violent means of resisting against a violent apartheid. That's it. That's all it is. There is a reason why Hamas has been able to recruit during Israel's offensive campaign, during Israel's siege of Gaza. You have to understand why. Here it is, yeah. Biden officials are becoming increasingly concerned that Hamas has been able to recruit during wartime, thousands over the last several months, allowing the group to withstand months of Israeli offensives. And for the record, right now, October 7, Hamas and the Palestinian resistance groups did absolutely engage in acts against civilians that are unconscionable, that are war crimes, that are something that I would consider to be an act of terror for sure. Okay? This does not change the dynamic for me at all as far as Palestinian emancipation, but that must be said. Having said that, however, Hamas and every single fucking militant resistance group since October 7, since Israel entered the Gaza Strip, since Israel started bombing the Gaza Strip, has been engaging in the most moral and the most righteous and the most just cause, which is fighting against the settler colonial occupation that is conducting an offensive, forward-facing ethnic cleansing campaign. If you can't separate the two, I don't know what to tell you. They're not recruiting shit. People are volunteering because Israel erased the entire families off the registers. Exactly. The October 7 attack happened in the context of and in response to the conflict. What drives the conflict are the mechanized systems of ethnic cleansing, apartheid, and Jewish supremacy. Israel has the power to end the apartheid and Jewish supremacy. Here, it's not complicated. I don't care if I should blame Herzl, Ben Gurion, Bibi, Sinwar, or the individual Hamas fighters for October 7th atrocities. You can decide that for yourself. What's important is we know what to do now and the apartheid. Exactly. It's not Jewish supremacy, it's Zionism. First of all, you're talking, the person that you're responding to is literally a Jewish citizen of Israel, the one that said Jewish supremacy. And for the record, Zionism does factor Jewish supremacy into it. It does not mean that it is Jewish supremacists and Jewish fundamentalism does not have anything to do with actual Judaism. You have to understand this. You have to unmarry these concepts. It's like saying Christian supremacists or Christian nationalists. They do not represent the millions of fucking regular Christians, okay? It does not matter. These concepts are completely removed from one another. It is akin to ISIS not actually representing Islam, okay, but utilizing Islam as a galvanizing principle, which, by the way, no one even fucking believes in the region because they just always end up killing Muslims more than anybody else. But that's why it's ironic that Israel tried to go with the Hamas's ISIS narratives, when in fact, Israel, in the way that it presents itself, is way closer to ISIS. Bastardizing religion, bastardizing Judaism, weaponizing Judaism cynically as a shield, when it is anything but Jewish tenets or even Jewish cultural history. Of course, it's Jewish supremacy. All that means is that between the river and the sea, Jews are massively advantaged and Palestinians oppressed. I'm Jewish, Israeli, anti-Zionist, and still have more rights than Palestinians. Yeah, no, the reason why chatters are chirping at you when you say that is because when someone says Jewish supremacy in the Western world, it goes back to the same dynamic. When you say Jewish supremacy in Israel, it means something different. When someone says Jewish supremacy in the Western world, people go, wait a minute, what? What are you, fucking Nazi? Because in the Western world, it's usually Nazis that say shit like that. It's the very same weirdos who will point to like, that Motorola phone cam footage of like some Kahanist inbred fucking asshole being like, that's right, we're going to take the Goy and we're going to make all the Goy our slaves or whatever. And then they go, this is what Jews believe. It's like, no, dude, that is you, but Jewish, okay? Ironically enough, the person that you're pointing to is literally just you, but Jewish. You just hate the mirror image of you. That's it. Which is, of course, not surprising because Nazis love doing that shit. Pointing to like an extreme example of someone from a marginalized background in the Western world and being like, this is what they all believe, in an effort to dehumanize. Anyway. Please scroll up. You put things so normally. I don't know how else to conceptualize it. What? What would a path to a one-state solution look like, my love? I'm not fighting. I have trouble even seeing this reality through the evil of Western governments. What must happen, or what I believe has to happen, is very different than what I think will happen, unfortunately. If you ask me what I think is the best way to... Also, my love is a little crazy. What I personally think must happen is a inevitable end to the apartheid and a singular secular state. for all of the people living in that area with a right to return for the Palestinians. Just as there is a birthright and a right to return for all Jews around the world to Israel, the same exact principle must be offered to all of the Palestinians who were pushed away from their homes. Reparations must be given to the Palestinians. On top of that, these are not actually insane concepts in general. These are ironically concepts that have been talked through in the so-called peace process, in the negotiations. You did say that on the pod. You didn't vibe with people saying, I love you. Okay, you guys need to stop calling me my love. It's fucking weird and cringe and super parasocial. Is freaking me out a little bit. Anyway. I've been here for 3 years. I'm one of the few Jews that didn't leave after October 7. First of all, that's not true. There are plenty of Jews that didn't leave after October 7. Chatters like Mackie for the win make me ashamed to be here. Wishing death on the chatters. Friends of the concert is just disgusting. I see this shit in the mods ban. Mackie for the win. If you let that shit slide, you're encouraging legit anti-Semitism. Hey, you fucking dumb fuck. They're banned already, and a mod asks you for screenshots of the messages. Either send them or shut the fuck up. Like, we take anti-Semitism pretty fucking seriously in this community. So I don't know why you come in here and you're like saying that we don't. Please. I hate chatters that use the chat only to send the messages but won't read the chat. Okay. Anyway, everybody chill out. Don't yell at that one chatter either. It's understandable to get hypersensitive when you see anti-Semitism, especially in a community that you otherwise perceive as a safe space. As a Jewish chatter that's been in here for 3 years, you definitely do. People think the one blip they see of it means it goes unchecked. Yeah. It is also pretty funny because, like, one, there's a lot of course, there's a lot of anti-Zionist Jewish chatters in here. But two, the unimaginable amount of anti-Semitism that is everywhere else outside of this community is like something that you guys should be aware of course. Like, it's not something that we ever allow in here. How seriously do you take anti-Italian hate speech? I take it very seriously, as in I seriously say it all the time. What is this? Israeli Ambassador Amir Maimon.
We are not the victims. Sorry, we are the victims. We are not the aggressor. I'm sorry.
But I can tell you that we are not targeting anyone else in Gaza but civilians. Hamas is cynically, but rather terrorists, of course.
If the international media is objective, it serves Hamas. If it just shows both sides, it serves Hamas.
Sverige och EU står enat i att Israel har rätt till försvar inom Har Israel rätt att begå folkmord? Vi hörde det!
We need to see a cease. We need to see a humanitarian pause so we can flow. We need to see ceasing of the levels of
oh my God. Oh God.
violence that we're seeing.
The decision of one man to launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. I mean, of Ukraine. Iraq. Anyway. 75.
And I would like to use the rest of my time to say how appalled I am that people are bringing up the Holocaust. Do not use other genocides to describe this one. I have been...
That one's the best one. Anyway, that's a fun little compy right there. But getting back to the situation, it's for the white people who get the PTSD flashbacks from here. Allahu Akbar. Yeah. The reason why they're going nutty mode right now in Western media, and the reason why The reason why they're going nutty mode right now in Western media and also nutty mode in Israel is partially because of the AP coming out with a piece saying like here are the 2 debunked accounts of sexual violence that went far. And also because like all of these other countries in the Western world are even saying that they are even saying that like, you know, Palestinians have a right to statehood and sovereignty. So as it stands, no matter what happens, as it stands, Israel will inevitably do more Israel shit. They'll do the one thing that they know what to do, which is harm Palestinians further. ICJ will rule a ceasefire tomorrow, and they'll go extra crazy. Here it is. Israeli officials believe the ICJ will order a ceasefire tomorrow and are fearful of resultant repercussions, such as a resolution of the Security Council to put into effect the order, which would force an American veto. ICJ orders are binding on the parties concerned in the case. Israel has to comply with all measures ordered, past and future. Haaretz came out with the article. Israeli officials fear exposure to sanctions if ICJ orders the halt to Rafah offensive in Friday's ruling. So, obviously, Israel doesn't give a shit about breaking international law. This doesn't mean that, like, magically Israel is going to stop, okay? You need to understand something here. These things take time, okay? It just means more pressure. But going back to the situation at hand, this is a Hamas press release regarding the video released by Israel relevant to Nahal Oz base on October 7th. In light of the Zionist occupation's release of the video clip about the captured female soldiers during the events of the Al-Aqsa flood battle on October 7th, we affirm the following. The video clip being circulated in Hebrew media is a manipulated and partial clip. Its authenticity cannot be confirmed. The circulation of this clip at this time comes as part of the occupation's failed attempt to tarnish the image of our valiant resistance by spreading fabricated narratives that have been proven false by multiple forums and media investigations. The scenes show images of female soldiers at a military site who were captured while working in the Gaza Division Command. They appear in civilian clothing because they were on break, especially since the attack occurred early in the morning on Saturday, October 7th, which is their day off. There is deliberate cutting and editing in the footage with selective images and clips chosen to support the occupation's claims and lies about assaults on the female soldiers. The clips show deliberate distortions and manipulations in the English translation, fabricating words in the English subtitles that were not spoken by any of the fighters appearing in the video, whether in Arabic or in English. This falsification and manipulation in translation proved the falsehood of the Zionist narrative from the outset. The presence of minor bloodstains on, or slight injuries on some of the female soldiers is expected in such operations, which can involve jostling. The scenes did not show any physical assault on any of them, but rather depicted dialogue between the fighters and the female soldiers without assault or abuse. The female soldiers were treated according to the ethical standards of our resistance, and there has been no evidence of mistreatment towards the female soldiers in this unit, despite their involvement in harming our people and causing the deaths of hundreds of peaceful protesters on the Gaza borders. All the images and scenes from the recent exchange operation confirm the good treatment they received under the resistance in Gaza, in contrast to what our prisoners face in the occupation's prisons, where they endure oppression, abuse, and killing. But once again, you know, people can speak Arabic and fact check this, right? Most people only have time to read headlines, not go over Twitter fact checks, let alone Hamas's own reputations. That's why the media repeatedly does this fabricated atrocity propaganda, and those lies are parroted long after being debunked. It's true. The reason for why they do it is because most people don't give a shit. Most people don't see Arabs as human and immediately fucking go after any kind of narrative that reaffirms their position. However, what you have to remember is that there are still always people in the margins. There are at least, make no mistake, there are at least 50 people in here right now, and I'm being very conservative, that came in here to see what I had to say about this footage, to be like, haha, what will Hassan say now? And then actually saw that the Israeli narrative was completely fabricated. That's it. That's why we do what we do, and that is precisely why Israel keeps slowly but surely losing the charitability Israel keeps losing the charitability as they attempt to do this kind of bottom of the barrel propagandizing. Do you understand? That is something that has happened every single day since October 7. Okay? When people have a tendency to believe whatever the state is saying and take it for granted, and then that state uses that to conduct, what the fuck? I can hear my neighbor's fucking phone. Anyway, when the state like Israel uses that charitability to conduct some of the worst propaganda, some of the worst, most bottom of the barrel propaganda you've ever seen, they will inevitably lose more and more people. Okay? Nothing changes. Remember when the IDF released that fake cell phone recording after the Al Shifa hospital attack that they never did don't forget? Wait, dude. Every single day, there are more and more people that are coming to the realization that what Israel is doing is unconscionable. Every single day. Some days, like in the immediate aftermath of the World Central Kitchen aid worker attack, there's a shit ton more people. But every single day that Israel does this shit, there are more people that go, oh, dude, what the fuck? Everyone has their own metric for what they consider to be ridiculous. Okay? But you have to remember that. You have to remember that there's a reason why we are seeing previously unforeseeable levels of support for the broader Palestinian emancipatory movement. Okay? Israel is doing that themselves. Bro, you don't understand how these Hamas monsters operate? They lie all the time. Yeah, dude. Hamas has never actually fucking lied about the top of the hour ad break, though. Okay? They know that at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. And they know that that kind of bait is not going to fucking work. Okay? Even if you are a gray name. Exactly. You got cooked, son. Because at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. Bop and Wop and others that give subs will allow you to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour. But yes, regardless of what your opinion is, there's still a 3-minute ad break coming for you now. Little M97, thank you for the 10 gift the subs. Here's the 3-minute ad break now, allowing 10 people to no longer see the ads. This is an irresponsible paragraph by Shira Rubin in the Washington Post. The Arabic word sabaya doesn't have sexual connotations. This is playing on racist and Orientalist tropes about Arabs and Muslims. Relying on the fabricated idea of translation of the word isn't journalism. Larry Albog asks if any of the gunmen speak English before one shouts at her, I want you quiet, quiet. Then another yells, our brothers die because of you. We will shoot you all. A voice can then be heard of the video saying, why don't you speak Arabic, you cows? At one point, a Hamas gunman inspects the women and calls them sabaya, an archaic term that means female captives but can have sexual connotations. The video subtitles, which were provided by the Israel Defense Forces, translated sabaya as girls who can get pregnant. Another man says beautiful. A brief clip shows the gunmen all praying while the women remain sitting against the wall. The video then cuts to a clip of the women being dragged outside amid the sound of gunshots and being thrown in the back of vehicles. Some of the women are clearly injured, their legs streaked with blood. I think it's really interesting how often this woman retweets directly from accounts of Israeli and American officials. Yeah, it's just, this is not journalism. It's just being a stenographer for the Israeli government, for the record. That is all you're doing when you... Wait, what?
That the police chief was going to be temporarily reassigned. So this is a lot for the new temporary chief who's in charge to take on today.
Again? Police have shown up once again to the UCLA campus as pro-Palestinian protesters have set up barriers.
That was brought on to kind of oversee.
These are UAW protesters too. They're like, I believe they're working alongside the UAW. Classic. Anyway, we'll check in on the protests and what's going on in a little bit. But yes, UCLA grad students are a part of the UAW, if you remember from the conversations that we had. Archaic, it's Arabic for captives, prisoners, not necessarily female. And what are the sexual connotations? Because there is no sexual connotation for the word itself. Absolutely racist drivel from Washington Post, Sure Rubin. I said another tweet that it was for female captives, but that also is not fully accurate. Depending on the spelling of the word in Arabic, it can mean groups of girls or prisoners. This is why having people who know Arabic well in your newsroom can go a long way. The sexual connotation seems to be in that group of Palestinian male fighters took 5 female Israeli soldiers from an IDF post outside of Gaza captive. The sexual connotation that these people are putting on this word is because who did the capturing? Muslim Arab males. Is crazy racist. Yes, these mistranslations absolutely matter, especially in the context of the visuals that are provided. Every time there's attention to Israeli crimes, Israeli and Zionists tout that Palestinians are rapist propaganda, which is used to obfuscate attention, and the U.S. news media runs after it like a loyal dog. It might not seem like a significant mistranslation, but the Israelis also purposely mistranslate "here are the cowards" to "here are the Zionists," presumably done in an attempt to victimize Zionists as a whole. No, the words are not similar sounding in Arabic. Guys, I know Cinemarxism is there. Oh my fucking God. I'm not going to cover it right now. Okay. Holy fuck. There's other news that I'm covering currently, specifically as it pertains to mass disinformation being presented as fact. It's such dumb propaganda. What's the point? I think Zana did a phenomenal job describing what the point is. The point is to literally reaffirm the narrative that like these guys are anti-Semitic rapists, and they are doing this not as a way to extract prisoners of war from a fucking military outpost, but instead they're actually capturing young women specifically to rape them in an anti-Semitic fashion. And that shit personally absolutely works for all of your parents. If you're like, what's the point of this propaganda? Go talk to your fucking mom and dad about this particular instance, and they will tell you, they will show you immediately why this kind of propaganda works.
Israeli activists continue to try protecting aid convoys headed for Gaza from attacks by extremist Jewish settlers. Before the war, 500 truckloads of supplies a day sustained Gaza's population. Due to strict security checks and the attacks, far fewer trucks now cross into the territory. DW's Aya Ibrahim reports from Takumia Crossing, where right-wing activists have been vandalizing aid convoys en route from Jordan through the West Bank.
These Israelis aren't going on a day trip. They're on a mission. They want to make sure that aid for Gaza makes it there safely. But when they get to the junction, food is already scattered on the ground.
We've arrived at the site of an attack by Israeli extremists on an aid.
Omdim Be'achad is the group that they're talking about. You can recognize them from their purple. Those are the guys who are increasingly gaining more momentum and more numbers as Israel's siege worsens.
Aid convoy meant for starving civilians in Gaza. And as you can see behind me, activists are now busy trying to save really what can be saved from that food.
They're encouraged by the effect they've had.
Because we were here and we made the police come here as well, and we encouraged the police to do whatever needed to stop them, we can see that only few of the boxes were falling down, and most of the thing in the truck continue to Gaza.
We've also seen the police try to come between the activists and the attackers who, even as the police is standing right next to them, continue vandalizing the food as it lays on the pavement.
They are full of hate right now, and they are acting as if they don't care that people die from anger. This is not the country we want to be. We are not leaving this checkpoint till the settlers will leave the area, and we'll make sure that all the trucks will go and bring food to Gaza.
The police officers on site refused to give us an interview on camera, but said that on that day, they arrested at least 2 people in connection with the attack whose aftermath we witnessed. A few days earlier, near this checkpoint, there was a violent attack on another aid convoy. Activists there said Israeli soldiers did nothing to stop the vandalism. Extremist settlers have been waging attacks like these regularly in Israel. A report by the Guardian newspaper even suggests that some members of state security tip off attackers ahead of time about the location of aid convoys.
Yep. Remember that part. The settlers are working alongside members of the military and the police. They get the information from members of the military and the police as to figure out which trucks to stop.
It was violence like that which inspired this group of activists to organize their Solidarity Guard.
It's not only the question of what's going on in Gaza, it's a question of our society and which kind of a society we're going to be. Are we going to be a society that will allow hunger and famine and destruction and death to be celebrated, or are we going to stand against it and to say we are human, we are fighting for our own humanity?
It's infuriating, the fact that we need to be here. We'll always find people that will be disruptive. But I'm a citizen of Israel. I'm also an American citizen. As a human being, why are we not doing more? It's happening in my name. And it's for the government, for the police, for the army.
Dispersal order has been issued in UCLA. I'm going to cover it.
My hands up!
We're going to go to breaking news. We're going to scenes. We're going to scenes on the ground as our on-the-ground correspondent, Cinemarxism, Brett, is at UCLA, where a new encampment has been put together. Police are on scene, and an order for dispersal has been issued.
There's diffusion in the air. They might be using tear gas. I can't tell, or like pepper spray at least.
Move to the sidewalk, please. Move to the sidewalk, please. Guys, just go to the sidewalk. Come on, guys, just go to the sidewalk. We don't want any problems.
Yeah.
You haven't seen anything from me yet, man.
You're a private fucking cop. You can't do shit. It's called assault. I have as much right to touch you as you do me.
You don't want to test that.
Okay.
He's right. That's a threat, by the way.
Who oppress black people.
What does that have to do with me getting paid, bro? Nothing at all.
It's called integrity and honor, man. You have none. You have no integrity.
Move to the sidewalk, please.
120,000 people dead or injured, and you're here beating us.
You're not being beat. Move to the sidewalk, please. Stop! Hey, let go of his bag! And he's on the north side! God damn it! Let the bike go!
Guys, stop backing up for us, please!
Grab the bike. I got you.
Back up to the streets!
If the youth can count on you, what faith do we have? What faith do we have?
Back to the street! They broke his bike. Back up. Officer Madrid of Santa Monica Police. Vargas of Culver City Police. Yeah, he's got his body cam on his belt, pointing to the ground. Getting a lot of good shots of feet, I'm sure. A lot of movement, more cops.
We need people to fill in. Hey, fill in where the bikes are at.
Sorry to Bit Radio Associate, guys. I'm doing what I can.
We will not stop, we will not rest.
Oh shit! Look at it!
I was like,
We will not stop, we will not rest. Explode! Divest! We will not stop, we will not rest. Explode! Divest! We will not stop, we will not rest. Explode! Divest! We will not stop, we will not rest. Explode! Divest! We will not stop, we will not rest. Explode!
I haven't seen any arrests so far. Vargas, 1171, Culver. Yeah, Culver City Police. Madrid, no badge. No badge. They're giving dispersal orders over a loudspeaker from the roof of one of the buildings.
Land of the free, baby. Land of the free.
Something happening over here.
Land of the fucking free, dude. Graham Waters, thank you for the 5, get the subs. Here's the aerial shot.
Our university! 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 Our university!
I lost my jacket.
Our university! Our university! Our university!
Rip.
Our university!
Rip my jacket. Where did it go?
Our university! Our university! Our university! Our university! Our university! IOF, they're all the same. LAPD, KKK, IOF, they're all the same. LAPD, KKK, IOF, they're all the same. KKK, Iowa, you're all the same. Genocide block! Genocide block! Genocide block! Genocide block! Genocide block! Genocide block!
We're gonna all mobilize to work. Be ready to move. We're gonna have the business crew, the admin, we're all gonna mobilize to work.
How you gotta carry that? Whose university? Our university! Whose university? Our university! Our university! Our university! You guys are gonna see. You guys are gonna see. God will hold you accountable. That's it's not fair. That's not you. You can't go nowhere. You can't go anywhere. And you're just killed for nothing. Are you patting yourself for the better the wrong side? Are you calling
Seems like everybody's moving. I'm gonna follow. Also look around for my jacket. I don't know where we're going. This is kind of chaotic. I don't like this. We're leaving the police line. We're leaving the police line. People are saying to go somewhere else, I guess. Still no sign of my fucking jacket.
It's at UCLA campus.
Murphy Hall! Murphy Hall!
Oh well.
It's like, oh yeah, my friend Jonathan Roost or something. He's doing
Oh well.
notation, making a notation system.
So, as far as I understand, police is on tactical alert. This is what I've gotten from people speaking to those inside the encampment. A new encampment was officially planned for Tuesday, but they set it up today. And police were on tactical alert, and they're blocking people and all food and drinks to enter encampment. Is what I've gotten so far.
Oh. Murphy. Oh, Murphy Hall. Okay.
The stand-up strike is supposed to start on Tuesday. It's at UCLA campus, chat.
Free, free, free Palestine! Free, free Palestine! Free, free, free Palestine!
This is troubling, in my opinion.
Yeah, Murphy Hall.
You're committing genocide!
Somebody said something about a negotiation with the administration. I don't really know what's going on. See bike cops moving fast over here. People.
Originally, there was supposed to be a stand-up strike that would have also featured the UAW in full force, which would have made it a much larger, protest. I don't know I don't know who made the decision to set up an encampment early. Okay, but encampment went up today because Genocide Gene is talking to Senate. Oh, it could be. It could also be because I think the deans, like I think presidents and stuff from both UCLA and all these other other colleges where at Columbia University, they are all supposed to speak in front of Congress. City University of New York public safety officer just said, "I support killing all you guys," to a group of students who walked out of the graduation of the College of Staten Island. Nice.
You support genocide! You support genocide!
Killing all you guys. How about that?
Kill us! You're a whole uniform! You want to kill us? I have you on camera! Yeah. I have you on camera!
That's insane, bro. You're a sergeant. Like, what a psychopath. He's like, yeah, no, I do. I actually, like, even if you're sarcastic, which I assume he's trying to be sarcastic, that is an insane thing to fucking say. Like, actually insane. What are we doing here?
That's what you are.
He's just saying what's on his mind. Yeah. He's like, I see nothing wrong with this. I'm going to fucking openly state it, you know? He's just, that's his, that's what he's got going on. Shows that Hasanabi is far from exaggerating when he says they just want to kill all the protesters. I mean, I am exaggerating, obviously, when I say that. I don't think they want to kill all the protesters yet. Maybe some do, but all right, let's get back to Israel, though, where here's what's going on.
Army to do everything possible.
Insults come thick and fast. Nazis and Hamas, their fellow Israelis call them. But they continue to try to get the food onto a truck and back towards Gaza. By the end of the day, they told us all the trucks had gone through with little damage. To them, a victory.
And Aya joins us now from Jerusalem. How common have these attacks on aid convoys become, Aya?
They've become very common since April. We've been seeing on social media on an almost daily basis videos of Israeli extremists associated with the settler community intercepting these aid convoys and destroying them. We've also heard reports of truck drivers being assaulted, even if they're not carrying aid at all. So that gives you a sense of the chaos that is around the story right now. If the particular settler group suspects that a truck is carrying aid, what they usually do is that they put a roadblock with rocks and they start attacking the driver. If he is Palestinian looking, if they suspect that he's carrying aid, he's often sort of by himself in that situation.
Yeah.
And that's really...
Yeah, they're fucking attacking truck drivers, many of which are of Palestinian descent or look Palestinian, because they're like, oh, well, we thought you were carrying aid. Nice, dude. Thanks.
Really, the frequency of these attacks and the randomness of it is, as we mentioned, what inspired this group to start organizing. And what they're saying is that their modus operandi is to really try and stand between the aid and the attackers, and also with their presence, because they make their presence very well known to the police, try to encourage and force the police to come and, according to them, do their job.
And chaos is a good way of describing the situation. I mean, what about protecting these truck drivers as well as protecting the aid? What is the police doing? What's the Israeli military actually doing?
So when we were there present, the police was present. And as we tried to show in the report, they sort of tried to keep the two groups separate from each other. But what activists have been saying is that previously, and certainly this claim is corroborated by the visual documentation of these attacks, the police has not been present and has, in some cases, just stood by and watched these attacks. That's according to eyewitness accounts by activists. And I just want to, paint a bigger picture about the situation with the police in Israel right now for our viewers who may not be familiar. The police is, of course, under the supervision of the National Security Minister, the far-right National Security Minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir. And we have seen him in the past couple of days sort of implicitly openly support these attackers, saying that he understands their anger, he understands their frustration. He says that he wants to see them block aid, but that they shouldn't be burning or attacking drivers. So there is some support coming from the man who really controls the police. And he has also boasted about being a member of the security cabinet who's actually voted against Israel facilitating aid to Gaza. And there are a lot of accusations coming from the activist community saying that basically because of this rhetoric coming from political leadership, namely the National Security Minister, police isn't really motivated to do their job. And in fact, the National Security...
It's crazy, man. It seems like, these guys are doing Hitlerian politics out there. What's that about? What's that about? We're so cooked. They demonize starving Palestinians for looting aid trucks, but won't condemn Israeli settlers for destroying and stealing the aid before they can even get in. Yeah, it's just it's rather odd. What's up with that? I thought this was the most moral democracy on the fucking planet. Well, seems not so moral. Seems kind of immoral.
Security Minister has spoken out against the police providing so many resources to protect the aid, saying that he doesn't really understand why so much police is there to protect the aid going to Gaza.
And there's been widespread condemnation of these attacks, of course, from Germany included. How's the Israeli government reacting to that?
Well, I've touched a little bit on what the national security...
Ben-Gvir says he's against the burning, but just because the aid should be completely stopped by state instead, kind of like how Smotrich said water should be erased on the earth, but by the IDF, not the settlers. Yeah. They're like, we should be doing it. We should be burning the fucking aid trucks.
Minister has been saying so. From there, you can definitely see that there's a...
It's fucking nuts.
He's not condemning the violence openly, but there's certainly an understanding for what the attackers are doing. But you're absolutely correct. We're now in a moment where Israel is getting a lot of pressure from the international community on many fronts when it comes to this war. Germany has condemned these attacks. The United States, Israel's biggest ally, has condemned these attacks as well. But we're also hearing a lot of condemnation from Jordan, because remember, a lot of this aid that's coming through the West Bank is originating in Jordan. And that's another, that's Israel's immediate neighbor, an Arab country with one of the old...
Yeah, by the way, the condemnations are, wow, the numbers are crazy. Holy shit. Here's Sin and Marxism at UCLA campus. Condemnations is great, except, you know, as chatters are pointing out, condemnations don't actually feed the Palestinians. You should be taking direct action at this point, you know, against the Israeli state for allowing this to continue, and also doing genocide as well. While you're in the starting the process of like taking actions against the Israeli state, maybe even, you know, extend it further to Israel's offensive ethnic cleansing campaign in Gaza. But instead, America only mobilizes against the naysayers, as you can see right here. God forbid you say, dude, stop the genocide. We only have the smoke for those who are critical of Israel and never for Israel. It's pretty obvious where our government stands on the issue. For those who are still like somewhat confused about this process, I guess.
Oldest peace treaties with Israel, now also speaking out about this. And so it gives you a sense of the level of concern that this, you know, domestic issue, we could call it that, is also resonating well outside of Israel's borders at a difficult time for the country and its political leadership in this war.
Context there from Aya Ibrahim in Jerusalem. Thank you.
Here is Brandon.
You know, we've made our position clear on the ICC. We don't recognize the jurisdiction of ICC the way it's being exercised, And it's that simple.
Bro, y'all loved it when it was being enforced against Vladipu, though. What's up with that?
We don't think there's an equivalence between what Israel did and what Hamas did.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says he's moving ahead with a formal invitation to the Israeli Prime Minister.
By the way, it's insane that we have war criminal, psychotic fascist Benjamin Netanyahu addressing Congress. Dude, I don't understand how delicious it must taste, the Israeli dick, okay? Oh my God, Zionist cummies. Holy shit, dude. It is so crazy. They're like, no, you don't understand. We love it. We fucking love it. Senator Chuck Schumer called Benjamin Netanyahu an obstacle to peace and too willing to tolerate civilian toll in Gaza and call for Israel to hold new elections to replace him. Senator Schumer is 100% right. However, if you look at it, this was, of course, I don't even think this was from March 14th. This was like even before then, for the record. Senator Schumer himself right now is saying things like we need to bring. Senator Schumer was critical of the ICC, trying to fucking bring justice to Benjamin Netanyahu, and is also a part of the people that is inviting him. If I am not wrong, if I recall correctly, I believe that he is also a part of the group of individuals that has invited Benjamin Netanyahu to speak in Congress. So a lot of politicians use the exact same equivalence term to condemn the ICC. Yeah. There is no equivalence between Israel and Hamas. I condemn this outrageous move, this dangerous move by ICC. There's no equivalence between Israel and terrorist organization Hamas. The attempt to create moral equivalency between Hamas terrorists targeted civilians for torture, rape, and murder versus Israel defending itself is absurd. To make a false equivalence between the actions of democratically elected government and those Hamas. Senator John Fetterman, Hamas leaders suggest there's a moral equivalence between them. There is none. There is none. There is no equivalence between the actions of Hamas, which is a fucking resistance group against an apartheid, and the nuclear militarized state that is doing the apartheid. There is none. These guys are not wrong. There is no equivalence. One side is clearly, objectively in the wrong, and that side ain't Hamas, let me tell you. Also, ironic, because these guys literally love saying Hamas is democratically elected, and that's why everyone in Palestine, everyone in Palestinian occupied territories is Hamas and must be dealt with. So what's up with that? Which is it, man? Shouldn't democracies be held to a higher standard? Exactly. But these guys use democracy as a shield. Theoretical democracy is being used in this circumstance as a fucking shield. Here's the House and Senate Dems pushing back on upcoming Netanyahu invite to address Congress. AOC says, I don't think it's constructive.
What if Schumer signs on to this invite to Netanyahu to address Congress?
I just don't think it's constructive for Netanyahu to be doing a joint address in this moment, period, regardless of who's sending the invitation.
I think it's Republican mischief in action. I think...
Wow, not constructive? Yes, you're right. AOC and American Democratic Party senators should be like, Netanyahu, if you come here, I'm going to fucking do a citizen's arrest on you. Like, guys, these are politicians, okay? Set your fucking expectation to the correct degree. At least she's called it a fucking genocide, okay? Which it objectively is. And the bar is so goddamn low for politicians that I'm not going to yell at one that at least clears that low ass fucking bar. They're like, Chad's like, dude, I don't understand. Why is AOC not saying we have to nuke Tel Aviv? We're talking about a government body that literally censured currently the only Palestinian American representative for saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. You're insane if you think after even watching countless hours of false equivalence, after watching countless hours of the American government doing everything it can after watching the American state send its Gestapo force to brutalize people for the crime of saying what Israel's doing is wrong, you're still over here being like, dude, what the fuck? What the fuck? Oh, by the way, a fuck ton of Israeli human rights orgs petitioned the Supreme Court today to shut down Sede Teiman. I hold no love for the courts, but they have taken action against some of these human rights violations on rare historical instances. And after long legal battles, we'll see how this petition goes, especially given the international attention this facility received lately. Like, here's another great example of this, right? Sean Fain, who I love. Sean Fain offered support to Biden, okay? While there are many UAW rank and filers who are literally out there getting arrested and getting brutalized by cops for protesting against Israel, Sean Fain still offered support to Biden. It was a tactical decision. I'm not going to fucking discount one of the most radical union leaders we have seen in American history, in American contemporary history, okay, in recent years for doing that. Because my understanding is that those in positions of power, I'm not going to have the same level of fucking smoke for those who are on my side in times of need. It was voted for by the UAW executive board. It wasn't his call alone. Regardless. I think there are valid criticisms of AOC. She's definitely cozying up to Biden. I think we need to think critically about the relationship socialists will have with their electeds. I think there are idiots that are being misogynist and ultra leftists. Yeah, I totally understand that. Like, AOC is probably not going to fucking say, AOC is probably not going to turn around and be like, you shouldn't vote for Biden either. That should not come as a surprise to any of you. Okay? You can have differences. You can have differences with your elected representatives. What the fuck is an ultra leftist? Ultras are a very ultras are more aggro than the average leftist. When I am criticizing politicians, I have expectations from them. Like when Bernie Sanders says this war was started by Hamas, of course I'm very critical of that. Why am I very critical of that? Because I expect more from Bernie Sanders. I expect more from Bernie Sanders than I do of AOC even. Because he is a fucking socialist for longer than Israel has existed. Anyway. Ultra leftism is just, don't even worry about it. It's what, like, it's super aggro. It's super aggro MLs for the most part. What is your Instagram story, Cap? Is AOC coming on? Yes, AOC. Wait, oh my God, was that a? I think that person was wearing a fucking Hasanabi merch. Brett just passed by.
Palestine will be free. Palestine will be free. From the sea to the river. From the sea to the river. Palestine will live forever. Palestine will live forever. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine. Free Palestine.
All right. Let's get back to serious news coverage.
Benjamin Netanyahu to give a joint address to Congress soon. It's expected to be a bipartisan invite and an overwhelming show of unity for Netanyahu as a prosecutor, the chief prosecutor, I should note, with the International Criminal Court says he plans to seek a warrant for Netanyahu's arrest for alleged war crimes in Gaza. But while most in Congress are standing against the ICC prosecutor and that announcement that he made to CNN's Christiane Amanpour, there is one prominent exception. He's my source tonight, independent Senator Bernie Sanders. Senator Sanders, welcome back to The Source.
Good to be with you.
And thank you for being here. What do you make of Netanyahu coming to address Congress? Would you go to that?
It's a terrible idea. No, I won't go. Look, you have a prime minister who has created the worst humanitarian disaster in modern history. Israel, of course, had the right to defend itself against the Hamas terrorist attack. But what Netanyahu has done is gone to war against, all-out war, against the entire Palestinian people, women and children. 5% of the population is now dead or wounded. 60% of them are women and children. Some 200,000 housing units have been completely destroyed. Every university in Gaza has been bombed. There is now imminent starvation taking place. So why you would invite somebody who has done such horrific things to the Palestinian people is something that I think is a very bad idea.
Well, it's not just, Speaker Mike Johnson. Senator Schumer is on board with this.
Well, I strongly disagree. Look, what the ICC prosecutor has done is very important. What he has said is there must be, war is horrific in general. And I would hope that someday the human race might end war. But what he has said is there've got to be standards. And as you know, last year he went after Putin of Russia, who has kidnapped thousands of Ukrainian children and taken them to Russia. And he said that's a war crime, not to mention Putin starting the largest war in Europe since World War II. What he said about Sinwar, the head of Hamas, he said this is the guy who started the war, committed a terrible atrocity on October 7th. He's a war criminal. He is a war criminal. But when Netanyahu goes to war against the entire Palestinian people, kills 35,000, wounds 77,000, destroys their healthcare system, their educational system, their civilian infrastructure. You know what? You got to have standards. And if you turn your back on that, then the next guy around the world comes and says, hey, we could destroy the whole thing. Let's do it. So
what do you make of what we heard on this? Because the common refrain to that and what President Biden has said is that it draws a false equivalence between Prime Minister Netanyahu and Yahya Sinwar.
I don't agree. No one, Netanyahu is the head of a democratic nation. He was elected. That's true. Sinwar is a terrorist, head of a terrorist organization. That's true. But what the ICC prosecutor looked at is what they have actually did, what they did. And what Sinwar did, what Hamas did, is, to my mind, a criminal violation of international law, no question about it. He's a war criminal. What Netanyahu is doing to the Palestinian people is different, but that is also, to my mind, a clear violation of international law.
Yeah, and we saw that video today of the female Israeli soldiers being tied up and bound.
Disgusting, disgusting. All right, but what Hamas is, what they did is horrific. They are a disgusting terrorist organization. End of discussion. Sinwar is a war criminal. But does that give the head of a modern, powerful, industrialized nation the right to go to war against the entire Palestinian people? I want to read you one thing, which is important. As you know, Defense Minister of Israel, Gallant, has also been, there's a warrant out for his arrest as well. This is what he said soon after October 7th. He said, quote, Defense Minister, quote, I have ordered a complete siege on the Gaza Strip. There will be no electricity, no food, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals, and we are acting accordingly, end of quote. That is the Defense Minister of Israel. And you know what? That is
I miss when Bernie spoke the truth on Israel. I mean,
any female born after.
Okay, dude, come on. It's just like, it's sad. It's very sad to see from someone like Bernie Sanders, like the equivocation narrative. At least he's like on the other side. But like, this isn't just tone policing. This isn't just tone policing. This isn't just me being like, oh, the optics of what Bernie's saying are like false or whatever. No, there's a lot of colonial language being deployed here. The people resisting against the occupation and apartheid are presented as like barbaric terrorists. The colonial entity here is being presented as a modern nation. This is a way to also reaffirm the commitment that we have to our ally, right? He is, however, on the right side as far as like, you know, criticizing Netanyahu, saying he shouldn't come and speak to Congress and defending the ICC's decisions. So at least he's doing that. And that's not bad. Ultimately, that's a good thing. And I think it does move the needle in the correct direction, at least for many. It's just that it doesn't make any fucking sense. Guys, I love Winnie. I love Maya. I love Peach Jars. But now is not the time, okay? I'm doing fucking coverage over genocide, and there's literally people in the chat chirping at me. Please. Like, read the fucking room a little bit, okay? As a Jewish man, him taking the stance is still huge. What do you mean? There's so many more vocal critics of Israel that are Jewish than Bernie Sanders. He's saying Israel committed war crimes. What more do you want? Do you want him to say it's chill to take hostages? Both warring parties suck. The only innocence of the civilians? No, I don't think you understand it. I don't think you understand my criticisms. Saying Hamas started this war, Yahya Sinwar started this war, is just objectively incorrect. Okay? It's just my criticism of that statement is not because I'm like, oh, Bernie's not saying nuke Tel Aviv or whatever the fuck. It's just objectively false. And I expect more from someone who has been a open socialist and anti-imperialist, who has said way more aggressive things about other supposedly enemies of America, right? And has defended other supposedly terror entities in the past, socialist groups and anti-imperialist groups. AOC gets a pass, though. AOC has been literally further to the left than Bernie Sanders on this issue. If you think that AOC has not been further to the left than Bernie Sanders on this issue, then just say that you look at the aesthetics of something and don't like it when it's a brown woman saying it and move on, okay? Not to get all fucking radlib on you, sweetie, but it's true. AOC has actually said has taken a more radical stance than Bernie Sanders. So has Jasmine Crockett. So has, or not Jasmine Crockett, sorry. So has obviously Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and many of the other squad members. Almost Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, Summer Lee. I think you guys are failing to acknowledge this. Bernie lost family members of the Holocaust and he's old, cut him some slack. No. That's ridiculous. Bro, how many fucking Holocaust survivors have we shown on this broadcast, like Gabor Mate and many others? Norm Finkelstein has lost family members of the Holocaust and he's also old, just as old as Bernie Sanders. It's ridiculous. This is not about like I don't know why you would think that would be that would give him more leeway in this circumstance. The only thing is he's a senator. Okay? Him being a senator, you know, I'm obviously going to have more allowances in that circumstance. I'm obviously going to be more understanding of the sentiment that he expresses. It's just that when he says ahistorical things, that is absolutely, when he says ahistorical things, that's when I'm like, oh, dude, come on. What's Bernie supposed to say? He's got plenty of Zionist friends in his personal life. What do you mean? I'm telling you what he's supposed to say. He's supposed to say exactly what others have said before him and will continue saying after him. Say the truth. October 7 was an atrocity. October 7 led to all of the graphic images that we have seen a million times over at this point. Massive death and destruction upon a civilian population. The majority of the people killed on October 7 were civilians. Okay? That, however, is not the beginning, nor will it be the end of this supposed war that Hamas started. We have to look at Israel's settler colonial occupation, Israel's actions as an apartheid. And that's not me saying it as Bernie Sanders. That's the Human Rights Watch. That's Amnesty International. That's Israeli human rights organizations like B'Tselem that have been openly stating with proof that Israel has been maintaining an occupation and an apartheid regime since 1948, but certainly in the West Bank since 67. To act like this started on October 7 would be a falsehood. That, in and of itself, I hope I hope you guys understand. That's just, I'm not saying anything radical in this situation. I'm just telling you how things actually are. Yeah, it's just, okay, correct me if I'm wrong here, but isn't a political calculation here for Bernie to make between 1, a movement leader, and 2, a policy leader, or someone who leads anti-Israel, anti-war policy initiatives in Congress? Doesn't he almost need to have the more moderate rhetoric so he can get as many senators on board with his bills as possible, especially with how the Senate is, even at the expense of having a holistic, authentic message? I'm not super informed here, so correct me, please. Well, I mean, the standard I think that Bernie should at least abide by is one set by a very courageous Israeli Knesset member who I've had on this broadcast. It is not simply I who is upset with Bernie Sanders' consistent rhetoric on the matter. It's Dr. Ofer Kasif, who tried to communicate with Bernie Sanders long before October 7, and tried to get him to speak out, and has tried to reach him since October 7. And Bernie Sanders has refused to acknowledge him. And regardless, though, Bernie Sanders being a movement leader or a policy leader with this rhetoric is not a political calculation that he's making. Because as you have seen time and time again, the American government is so unimaginably anti-Palestinian, anti-Arab, anti-Islam, and so unimaginably pro-Israel that, like, it doesn't matter what kind of moderate stances he takes, the outcome will always be the same. Nobody is going to listen to Bernie Sanders and go, oh yeah, he took a moderate approach to this, so I guess he's right. We shouldn't actually criticize the ICC. As you saw, it's the exact opposite. Now, the thing is, I feel like I have a very healthy approach to this. Which is to not talk about Bernie Sanders in general. If you noticed, I rarely ever cover Bernie Sanders. And the reason for why is because ultimately he's better than 99.9% of American senators on this position, right? So I don't spend a lot of time fucking yelling about Bernie Sanders. Now, the reason for why I don't do that, and the only reason why I'm bringing it up today is because he's speaking specifically about Netanyahu and the ICC here, okay? The reason why I don't speak out about Bernie Sanders more frequently is because I don't care. Like, I think that there are better battles to pick. It's also the exact same reason as to why I don't, while I am sometimes critical of AOC's decisions as it pertains to American foreign policy, she is not my, she's not my enemy. Okay. Now, the thing is, for many, especially in the left, we love to just like clean house. We love to be like, oh, dude, well, this guy's supposed to be a socialist. Like, oh, fuck this guy. I can't believe it. It's like, dude, John Fetterman is out here being like, drop ship me into Gaza. I want to murder Palestinian children. I don't give a fuck about what Bernie Sanders or AOC is saying in that process. You know what I mean? Like, there are infinitely better targets, infinitely more valid targets than people who are, for all things considered, people who are infinitely closer to your side. What? You're just being hypocritical of Bernie because you're anti-Semitic? Come on, dude. It's 154. You really think this is a good and valid way to fucking bait? You're just being hypocritical of Bernie because you're anti-Semitic and can't stand it when Jewish people agree with you. Well, Jewish people agree with me about the top of the hour ad break. At least those who are subscribed and also Jewish. They agree because they don't see the ads. If you want to also be a part of the group that sees 0 minutes of ads at the top of the hour. Uncle Habibi, you can subscribe. That was a bad bait, dude. Bad. Damn, exactly. Don't come at me with this weak ass bullshit. Why does your discussion center around critique? Why can't we build up and still disagree? Wait, what? I mean, I am open about my disagreements with Bernie Sanders on this issue. I just am also explaining to you that you will never hear me fucking, you will never hear me spend a ridiculous amount of time shitting on Bernie Sanders. I don't give a fuck. Okay? I don't. Focus your efforts on more productive outcomes. A lot of you openly criticize like the TikTok block list or whatever. Okay? A lot of you openly criticize the block list because like they end up adding like Gigi Hadid and shit onto the fucking block list for not being sufficiently pro-Palestinian or whatever. And then you turn around and you demand more criticisms of like leftist leadership or those who are closer to you than anyone else, unimaginably closer to you in their worldview than anybody else, and why I'm not spending a shit ton of time there. Because I don't care. Because I think it's unproductive. Okay? Having said that, though, go off kings and queens on the TikTok block list, I mean. U.S. government also loves to melt poor people, and Bernie hasn't made any political calculations to be moderate on economic policy, so I think his opinions on Israel are due to a soft lean. Yeah. No, I agree. You're not wrong on that assessment. I think that it is his own personal bias in this regard. That is precisely the reason why I brought up, like, Bernie has defended the fucking Sandinistas and shit. Come on, guys. Like, it's not like he has been shy of offering critical support to those who America has declared enemies of the state or terrorists. Okay? The reason why it's different here is because I think he's a little bit biased. It's sad to experience it. It's sad to watch it. It's sad to see it, but that is the truth, okay? Or at least that's my assessment. Let's continue.
Exactly what they did.
Yeah,
Today, there is no electricity.
We covered those comments, and we've covered also what's been happening, obviously, there. On this front, though, if those warrants are issued, countries that are a party to the ICC will have to arrest Netanyahu and Gallant if they go into those countries. I mean, would you be okay with...
Look, between you and me, I don't think Putin is going to get arrested. I don't think Sinwar is going to get arrested. I don't think Netanyahu is going to get arrested.
Netanyahu.
But the world community has got to have certain standards or else we move into barbarism. And the next...
We have moved into barbarism, Bernie. We're doing barbarism, Bernie. Come on, you're a socialist, Bernie. You should see that already, Bernie. Goddamn, Bernie. Damn, son.
Country at war will say, look what Israel did. Yeah, we're going to wipe out all the housing. We're going to starve all the children. Hey, that's okay. So what the ICC is trying to do, I think, importantly, in a crazy world, in a world of so much violence, trying to hold at least some minimum standards of what governments have got to do.
Senator Bernie Sanders, thank you for joining us here tonight.
Thank you.
Joining me again, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who sits on the House Oversight Committee and had that
I don't care about the back and forth between her and Marjorie Taylor, Margarine Titan Green. What do you mean between you and me, dog? You are on a news channel. They talk about Israel, Palestine mostly. Wait, really?
exchange with Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, in some ways, you know,
make procedural down the caning involving Charles Sumner, and
Right.
so every single Friday, if you don't want,
Gaza, although quite also,
it's going to come to you.
you have been very critical of the Biden administration's policy on Israel Gaza, although quite also strenuous in your endorsement of the Biden-Harris ticket and the importance of electing, sort of balancing those two. At the top of the list of priorities, are there specific actions, specific things the Biden administration is not doing now that it should be doing that they have under their control?
I think this right here is an excellent.
Has she? Yes, bro, she has. I think a lot of people just like see shit on Twitter. A lot of people see shit on Twitter and get fucking geared up to be angry. Like, yeah, she has. Especially as a politician, if your standards are lower for a politician, like you have to remember that. As far as being a politician goes, like it's pretty good.
Question, because there are things that are within our control when it comes to the bombardment and the outright famine that is precipitating in Gaza, an unfolding genocide in Gaza. And there are things that are not in our control that the Netanyahu government is just barreling ahead towards. For example, I do not believe that it is constructive to invite Prime Minister Netanyahu to a joint address of Congress. And many foreign leaders use this opportunity to lobby the entire Congress and the U.S. government for their own needs.
Damn, this guy's good.